Hi, I'm Mikey and I made a lot of art this summer, so I wanted to make a video to semi-formally kind of critique everything I've made this summer, and I created some factors to rank it by to get a more tangible ranking, and so I could compare like my overall experience of creating these different art pieces. So I have a little whiteboard, and I decided that I want to rank each piece on 4 categories. The categories being process, product, creative growth, and overall connotation. That last one just being like, how do I feel about the piece overall? And everything's out of 5 stars, of course, just to keep it simple. So the first piece I made this summer is a lino cut block printing, and it's of some orchids that were in my backyard. I really like the line work, and I think the patterns that I created, especially in the petals and how that kind of matches the patterns down in the leaves. And overall, this is one of my favorite block prints that I've ever made, and the fact that I can make more of these makes me very happy. And I really like how it looks against a dark background. Looking at my scale, I think this process honestly was pretty easy. I did make this late May, so I don't really remember. It was kind of fun, but it was kind of long. So I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars for process. The product, I'm really happy with the product. I think the prints come out very consistently. That's not a sentence. The prints come out consistent and quality, and I like that there's like variation of line weight in the drawing. I think it's very strong technically. Yeah, I think the product is high quality, so I'm gonna give that 5 stars. Creative growth, I have done block printing in the past. I think this is my first larger block print that's not, I did one for AP Art, but I don't know. It's not really pushing any boundaries for me. Maybe some of the patterns I chose to do were a little bit different, but I think I'm probably gonna give it a 3. I don't really think it pushed me that much as an artist, even though I do really like the product. Speaking over overall really liking it, I'm giving overall connotation a 5. So the first piece, the orchid block print, is getting 17 out of 20 stars. So pretty good for the first one, but we shall continue. I actually have to go grab the second piece because I think I left it in a different room. So the second piece that I wanted to talk about is, it's a painting on a wooden panel. And in the fall, I'm starting as a freshman at Georgia Tech, and their mascot is the Yellow Jacket, which I think is a really horrible mascot, so I was trying to romanticize it by creating art about it. The process, this was a pain in the butt. So this is inspired by an artist that I do not remember the name of, so I will be putting a picture of her on screen. She does these paintings, I think they're also on wooden panels, and she's known for like the borders with the checker print and then like an alternating checker borders. It's just like a checkered border. She does a lot of work with different shapes. So I created this illustration of a yellow jacket on some generic plants, I guess. I really liked sketching it out, but actually painting it was a nightmare because it kept like smudging my pencil in the paint. I think I also used like 2 different colored pencils to do my sketch, so then it was smudging, but it was smudging differently like for each shape. Just not very fun overall. I do like the product a lot. I think that it looks very good. I think that I would give this honestly 3 stars for the process, because there are parts that I liked and parts that I didn't like, so average, it's getting a 3. For the product, I think I'm happy with the way that it came out. Like, I'm definitely gonna hang it in my dorm. I do think that it looks aesthetically appealing, as aesthetically appealing that a yellow jacket could be. I really enjoy kind of the more illustrative approach. I think I'm gonna give the product 4 stars. For creative growth, I think I'll also give it 4 stars because this was definitely a new style to try out, and I think that it was a new technique for me to branch out and try. I had to push the way that I work with shapes a little bit. Actually, it reminded me of sketching and printmaking because you're thinking of blocks of color rather than like you can't have a gradient or like optical mixing like in painting. I think my overall connotation is pretty positive, so I think I'm gonna give that 4 stars. It's not my favorite thing that I've ever made, but I think it's pretty good. Overall, it gets 15 out of 20 stars. So here is the final board for that. The third piece that I made this summer takes us back to printmaking. An inspiration for some things I made this summer was from when I traveled to Iceland, and they had these beautiful purple flowers called lupine, which I didn't actually know that we have them in the US. I thought that they were native to Iceland, but you know, I became really enamored with them, and so I created this block print, which I think it looks pretty good. I do think the composition is a little bit busy. I tried to repeat the same thing where I had a dark background, like with the orchids printmaking. I really enjoy a lot of the patterns that I employed, especially in the lupine flowers, but I think that the supplementary plants and stems and things clutter the overall image, so I don't like it as much as the orchids one, I think is what I'm trying to say. This process was not fun. I'm gonna be honest. The sketch was too complicated and it took me so long to carve this, so I think I'm giving it 2 stars for the process. It was genuinely that bad. Like, it felt like work. It was not very fun. For the product, my heart wants me to give it a 4, but I think I have to give it a 3 just because the composition is not strong. As for creative growth, I do think I really pushed it with the patterns this time, and it kind of gives a maximalist vibe, which is something that I don't normally do. I feel like I normally have a pretty good balance of like interesting aspects to less interesting aspects. So I might actually give that a 4 because like this is the most intricate printmaking that I've done, and I really like it for that reason. I think my overall connotation might have to give it a 4 again because I feel like happy that I made it, even though it's not the best thing that I've ever made, but it has a piece of my heart. Let's just say that. So I'm gonna give it a 4 for overall connotation. So that gives the lupine block printing 13 out of 20 stars, which I feel like that's low for what this is, but I don't know. We move on. Okay, so now we're getting into the paintings, which I feel like as an artist, I am a painter. That is really where I think my technique shines, and I love the paintings I made. All 3 of them are from pictures I took when I was down in the Outer Banks, although only one of them is obviously beachy themed, which you shall see. So the first one I made is a 16 by 20. These are all oil paintings, by the way. This one, it's called Hummingbird Vine at Sunset, and I really like this painting a lot. This is one of my favorites I've made in the summer. The process was really enjoyable. I liked it a lot. There were some difficult periods, but it's getting a 5. This painting really clicked for me. I feel like I really got to be creative in the moment, and as a result, I really like how it looks. Although, part of me is feeling like this is gonna be one of the pieces where I love it after I just made it, and then in a year or 2, I'm gonna look at it again and be like, oh my gosh, that's so ugly. Why was I proud of that? But I'm sticking with my gut. I think this looks beautiful. I think, wow, this might actually be a perfect score for me. Is that crazy? I'm gonna stick with my gut, and genuinely, I think this is getting all fives. Like, I love the product. I think I really grew creatively. Like, this brushwork was something that I had explored before, but not in the application of a landscape. And I love the movement of the brushstrokes and the transitions from the different colors. Okay, actually, as I'm looking at this, I think there are parts of the painting that feel less developed. And so actually, okay, I'm actually gonna take a star away from product. Because I think, like I mentioned before, I think I'm gonna realize in a year or so that like parts of it don't look as good as they look to my brain right now. I'll keep 5 stars on the creative growth. I think this really like inspired a lot of the rest of the paintings that I made this summer, and I think my technique grew and the expression of my mark making work. As you can probably tell, my overall connotation of this is definitely 5 stars. I am really happy with the experience overall. So this one's getting a 19 out of 20 stars. And here is that board. My second painting that I made this summer, I think this is my strongest piece technically that I made. I don't know, this one feels bigger, but it's not. This is also 16 by 20 and also an oil painting on canvas, and it's titled Glowing Hydrangeas. So this is actually from a picture I took when we were at mini golf, still down on the Outer Banks, and the flowers were just beautiful, and I literally, like, in the picture it looked like the flowers were glowing, and so I took a similar impressionistic approach and really just went for it. I tried to look at the different colors and simplified shapes, and I really like the final piece. This process wasn't quite as fun. Some of these flowers were very time consuming, and I remember, like, while I was painting this flower in particular, like this section, it was one of the last things that I had to do, and I felt like it was in an ugly stage for the entire time of me rendering the flower until I finished, and I was like, wait, why is that like one of my favorite parts of the painting? Which is so odd, because I feel like that really doesn't happen. Normally, like, if I have a spot that like I don't like it continues to be an issue, and like no matter how I continue to work over it, I can't normally fix an issue. But yeah, I love the colors. I think this area is beautiful. There are these like bright yellow greens against the more minty tones, and beautiful. Love the different greens. I love the pinks and the purples shifting into grays against like the ochre. I don't know what they're called. They're like the things that are in the center of flowers normally. I don't know what they're called. I think it's called pistils or something. But yeah, I enjoyed this painting a lot. I think for the process, I'm gonna have to give this one a 4 because it was enjoyable, but not as enjoyable as Hummingbird Vine. For the product though, I'm giving this one a 5. I think this is a very strong piece, and I like looking at it, and I think I'm going to continue to like looking at it in the future. As for creative growth, I think I'm going to give it a 5. This continued the impressionistic push in a way that still felt new, and I applied it to flowers in a more close-up sense this time. And I like the way that parts of it feel representative, but parts of it kind of shift to be more abstract, but it's all still cohesive. So yeah, my overall connotation is definitely a 5, which I think makes this painting another 19 out of 20 stars. Here's the board for that one. Now I'm going to talk about the last painting that I made this summer, which this is the one where you can actually tell it's at the beach. This is actually a huge painting. Yeah, it is, I want to say 20 by 24. Actually, I don't know, and I feel like I really should. But despite it being significantly larger than the other 16 by 20s, like this piece was so much faster, and I have no idea why. Like genuinely, it was such a breeze. Like painting it, I felt like I wasn't doing anything, but it was weird. Like during the beginning, I always start with a very vibrant underpainting, and I felt like the colors I was putting on in oils weren't that different than what was already there, and so I was like, uh-oh, like I want to improve this because it doesn't look good. But slowly by surely, the picture kind of came to life, and it was quick. Like I feel like this probably took me like less than 10 hours of work to create. So because of that especially, I'm pretty happy with it. The process was pretty good overall. I think I'll give it a 4. The one part that was really annoying is down the sand that's like close up, like the actual path. I reworked that area maybe like for 3 hours like of the process, because I started with an impressionistic pattern, but it was too big to be like believable. It looked really out of place compared to the rest of the piece. So I kept working on it and like shaping the like bigger shadows, making them smaller. And now I really like that part of the painting. I think it looks good. Saying that out loud, it's making me think maybe I'm getting better at fixing problem areas of paintings, which is good. The product, I think it looks really good. It's not like, it doesn't make me feel that connected to it, but I think like from an objective standpoint, like this is a quality work that I've made, like compared to where I'm at in my art practice. So I think I will give the product 5 stars. As for creative growth though, I really don't feel like I grew as an artist. Like this felt like a landscape. Like it was fine, it was there, it's pretty, but I didn't really change that much. Maybe I think that the part that was new is kind of like the mid-ground, like where the plants are, and not the sand of the path, but the other patch of sand. Like figuring out how textured should that area be to kind of create atmospheric perspective. So I think I want to give it 3.5 because that's how it feels. Yeah, I'll give it 3.5, and my overall connotation is probably a 4. I like it, but it's not overwhelmingly positive. Okay, so this one gets a 16.5, which that feels about right. Like, I like this piece. I think it was good for some reasons, but it's not my favorite thing I've ever made. Okay, the next 2, I guess, pieces, I'm gonna combine them into one, and you'll see why. I'll talk about it. In my last video, I talked about how I was trying reduction printing, and I said that that was my first reduction print, and it was actually not. I technically did a practice one, which the product is so bad that I'm not counting it as an actual piece because it would get like a 5 out of 20. Like, it's just bad. Well, the product was bad, but the process was important. So my practice one was this. As you can see, it looks pretty bad. You can see colors that you're not supposed to, and yeah, the colors aren't right, nothing's aligned right. The patterns that like were supposed to be, I feel like it's just a mess. Like none of the details are where they're supposed to be. So many of the colors are wrong. I really don't enjoy it, not even from like an abstract like perspective, which is why I'm not counting this as a piece. I'm just saying it's practice, but it'll factor into italics. Okay. The first reduction print that I did it's of puffins. Again, like I mentioned, Iceland. That is not focusing, I don't think. I think this is definitely an improvement because you can actually see what the things are and what they're supposed to be. Although I did mention in another video, like I still had to paint over these because like the different reduction layers did not line up well at all, and the colors still weren't quite right. I enjoyed the carving process. I think it was fun to think through like what parts do I need to carve and what parts do I need to keep. I did not enjoy the printing process. It really stressed me out because I knew that it wasn't going well as I was doing it, even though I was trying to trust the process. So I think I'm gonna give the process a 3 out of 5. I think that feels fair. The product, I'm not counting the test print because I would literally give that a 0. I think it's like horrid. The puffins, I think they get a 3.5. I think like for like one of my earliest reduction prints, it gets a 3.5. Like that's, it is what it is. For creative growth, I think this was a new technique that I want to continue to explore, except I might have to take a little break because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time. I don't know, reduction printmaking is a lot more finicky than I was expecting, so I think I'll give the creative growth a 4 because I learned a lot about it, but it doesn't make me want to do it more, at least for the next little bit. So my overall connotation is honestly a 2. Like, I'm just like not very happy overall with what I made. So the reduction printmaking gets 12.5. That sounds about right. So the final piece that I made this summer is actually a work in progress. So I'm going to talk about it now and try to rate it, and hopefully that doesn't really change. Oh, I also did bring it over. Okay, looking at this after not having worked on it for a couple of days, I am not really sure how I feel about it. So this was an experiment of me trying wax pastels on canvas, which if you think of using oil pastels on canvas, it's the same thing. Like, I thought I would smudge a little bit less, but the way that I'm using them, it's still a mess. Like, I would not be able to hang this up on a wall without some kind of fixative or something. There are certain parts of this piece that I love. Like, I love looking at a segment and looking at the different colors, and yeah, like there are parts of this that are beautiful. Like, especially, I love like this section right here. Like the light blues and the reds and the dark blues against like the Viridian green is beautiful. I think right now, like I don't really like what I did with the butterfly. It might be the color. Oh, I think it's too complex. I think I tried to do too many details, and I feel like the butterfly needs to be more of like just kind of like a shadow of a shape or something. I think that's what I want to try. I think that's what would help, because then the focus would be more on the environment rather than the butterfly. I probably shouldn't have added it at all, but my whole goal this summer was to make something with a butterfly, so that's what it gets. The process, it's so fun. I'm having a lot of fun working on this, so I think I'm gonna give it a 4 for process. The product is kind of TBD. So I think I can get it to a 4. It's not gonna be a 5. This is much more about process and creative growth, which is definitely getting a 5, because like the way I've never used this medium in this way, and I love it. Like, I feel so creatively fueled whenever I work on it. I think my overall feeling, like / connotation, gets a 4 also. I like it a lot, but it's not technically my best, I think, is how I feel. So I like looking at it though, and like I really want to turn this into something that I love. But yeah, so in total it's getting 18 out of 20 stars. And that being said, that is every major art project that I've done this summer, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me think about and critique my past works. I know I wanted to have something where I could voice my thoughts about like this work from a segment of my life. I'm not very good at going back and looking at past work and reflecting on it, but this feels like a period in my art practice that's different from some of the other ones, and I wanted to document that. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, you should definitely subscribe or leave a like on the video. And if you want to see more of just my art, you should follow my Instagram at MikeyFremskyArt. And that's everything. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.